This is Joe Grimm, lead investigator of Grimm's Cryptic International Paranormal Trackers. Getting ready to do an interview with John Yost. Waiting for him to come on. While we're waiting for him, what this podcast is going to be about is abductions and abductees. The feeling of us out there that have been abductees and that are not alone. Mr. John Yost, how are you, good sir? Yes, I
Very
can
fine,
hear
sir.
you.
Can you hear me?
You're sideways.
Wonderful. I'm always sideways.
Good way to open with humor. Uh,
Yes,
you don't
sir.
have a problem with me smoking on the show, do you?
Oh, I'm so offended. Light
That's
up.
my thing. So my question is, with this documentary you did, I watched it. It was absolutely breathtaking. Abductee, alien abduction answers. I've seen alien abduction documentaries before, and a lot of them was focused on the dark aspect of it. This one focused on the positive aspect, where we do need to unite as a human race. And just what caused you to create this? Honestly, if Cisco and Ebert were both together, I know they would do this. Two thumbs up, honestly. It was mind blowing, the documentary. I felt a sense of calmness since I've watched that I haven't felt in, I'm going to say 15 years. I haven't felt this calm in a long time.
Well, first of all, Joseph, let me thank you very much for your time. And thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you and to your viewers. I appreciate you and I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
work. Um, th- yes, sir. Um, Second of all, let me say this. The film that you saw was kind of an accident. Um, it wasn't supposed to be a film. It was supposed to be a catharsis for me because I am, what people would call an abductee or a contactee, and and I had a really hard time with it. I was a 7-year-old boy and I experienced it and had lied about it my entire life. And so when I finally got around to dealing with these things, much later, in my mid 50s, um, there was a lot of unresolved issues, and it was hard for me. I mean, I had all the same questions that everybody else has. Why me? What did I do? Is this a punishment or is this a blessing? Why am I so fucking afraid? All of this stuff, right? And I knew that from talking to a couple of people that a lot of people felt the same way. You know, I didn't understand that this kind of phenomena was so prolific that literally hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people had gone through it, and it was really tough for me. And so I started this entire adventure, if you want to say, as a way to kind of cure me, as to heal me, and and my hope was that, so many people keep this stuff inside and they don't know who to talk to and they don't want to be ridiculed and, and they're just normal people. They're just normal people, regular jobs, doing everything for their family they can, whatever. They're salt of the earth folks. And like this incredible shit happens to them and they don't know what to say, right? And they think they're going crazy. So I figured, look, if I could ask the stupid questions, if I could be the fool, if I could be the scaramouche, if you will, and ask those questions and help these people, then it was worth it. And so this film is designed specifically to take people from where they are. I didn't want to tell people that, look, you're afraid and you're an idiot. You don't need to be. That's crap. People who are afraid and concerned, they have right to be afraid and concerned because they're ignorant. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. What I mean is they just don't know everything. They don't know how to even approach the subject, right? So out of ignorance, like if you don't know what's in the dark, you're afraid of what's in the dark, right? You start to learn what's in the dark, and you can handle it a lot better. So the idea was it was to take people from ignorance and fear and take them to some sort of understanding, right? I get a lot of, well, I don't get a lot, but I get some trash about the name of the film. The film is called Alien Abduction Answers. And somebody gives me some trash about, oh, Mr. Answers. Look, first of all, I don't have any answers. I'm on the search for answers, right? And there's not just one answer. It doesn't say the answer, right? It's answers. These are landmarks on this path of knowledge and understanding. So the idea was to help people go from fear and ignorance to some sort of understanding. And by making the film, it's given me a sense of peace. And I was hoping to convey that to the audience. And if that's happened for you, my brother, I am a very
You have two people
grateful
watching, and yes, it did convey peace. You have Susan
That's
Moore
great.
Alloway watching and Mary Jo Shalasta watching.
Hello, ladies.
Debs, our mutual friend that we have on Facebook, said she will be watching tonight if she can. And then you have Pendleton Paranormal Society out of, here he is, Jonathan Kerwin. He is lead investigator of Pendleton Paranormal Society out of Pendleton, Oregon, said he would be watching. Him and his wife both will be, him and his wife Jen.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to meet you or be able to talk with you tonight.
My fiance said that if she could, she would watch, but she's indisposed right now. She's in Texas and seeking some help in Texas. She said she wishes she could be here for this. It's what she, as soon as I told her who I was interviewing, she goes, wait a minute, is that the guy that's been working on that documentary you haven't shut up about for the last 4 months on? I'm like, yeah. She goes, tell him hi from Lori.
Oh, well, God bless you, Lori. Nice to talk.
She's not here. Like I said, she's seeking help for addiction problems that she had.
I understand.
See, when I used to drink,
God bless her.
My first experience is when I was 5 years old, living in Oceanside, California. Of course, one of the biggest UFO hotspots that I've done research into. And I remember laying in my bed. Actually, no, I was laying on the love seat, ironically. I was laying on the love seat, stretched out. Just got back from the beach, and I get back from the beach, I'm like, picture 5-year-old, tired as hell. So I crawl up on the love seat, and I go to sleep. My eyes come open like this, and I'm looking around, and I hear, I'm like, so I go and open the door, and there's nobody there, and I turn around, and I see, like that person you had in your documentary, you described the whole person of white, bright light energy. I saw two of them standing there, and I'm like, but what I saw, because I was a Voltron fan, Voltron. Oh, yeah, I am a mad Voltron fan. I was seeing Voltron, and I was seeing Scooby. I'm a Scooby-Doo fan. I was seeing Scooby sitting there, and I'm like, hi. And I started interacting with them like they were just people. And Scooby goes, lay down on the couch. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you can't lead me wrong. You're Scooby. So I lay down, and I'm like, I start feeling my body shaking, and I wake up, and it's noon. My mom goes, Joe, what the hell? How did you miss school? I'm like, what? So this happened at 5 o'clock at night the day prior. That's a good time. That's a
Mm.
good chunk of time to lose. I'm like, scratch my
Yes,
head
sir.
going, what the? I didn't think nothing of it. I'm 5 years old. And my brain doesn't process things the way it does now. And also because I had autism. I was diagnosed autistic at 5 years old, and I told the doctor what happened and I saw, and the doctor told my mom it's just him creating things in his mind. Had my mom convinced, but didn't have me convinced. 7 year well,
Yeah.
speed ahead till 7 years old. No, we'll speed ahead till nine. We were a military family, so we bounced all over the place. We bounced all over the globe, all over. We had just barely gotten
Yes,
back to
sir.
Montana. We had just barely gotten back into the States. We left Germany and got back to
Yes, sir.
Montana. We're living in Great Falls. That's not far from Millstrom Air Force Base, which I've done my research in Millstrom Air Force Base.
Yeah.
That's been a hot spot between Millstrom Air Force Base and up above Canada, between of course Alaska, all the way down through those territories there down to Pendleton. They call it the UFO highways. That's what some of the Montana professors up there call it, because it's literally little. There's a highway that runs literally. It's not a real highway. What it is, it's what the hell do they call it? A wayline highway, like waylines, an energy highway that runs from there all the way up. And we get to Great Falls, and one night I'm laying there in my bed in my trailer. We just got done unpacking, so I'm like, I collapsed into the bed because I had unhauled probably 23 boxes by myself, and I'm going
Hmm.
back and forth. So I'm tired. I go to bed. It's noon because I'm getting ready to take a nap. Because the way my mom had my medication I was on Ritalin and Silert. So my mom would give those to me and I'd be tired afterwards. So
Uh,
the doctors told her I needed Ritalin because I
mm.
was seeing things. So
Mm.
I went to, my mom goes, medication time. And after I took my meds, I'm out. I'm gone.
Mm.
So I take those meds and I'm sitting there fighting it. And I suddenly hear this high pitched sound. I put my hands in my ears and I collapse to the bed. I wake up. I'm in a field 23 miles from where
Mm.
I lived at. I'm like, huh. Luckily, a neighbor saw me that knew my parents and go, Joe, get in the truck. I'm like, he goes, how'd you get here? I go, I don't know. I don't know. I'm panicking because last thing I remember
Mm.
is laying in my bed. After that, I remember nothing. He goes,
Mm.
I know how you got here and I'll explain it to you. And I'm going, okay. So he takes me out for a milkshake and goes, what I saw happen, he goes, you're not alone. I go, what do you mean I'm not alone? Of course, I'm sitting in front of you.
Mm.
He goes, no, you don't get it.
Mm.
He goes, you're not alone. I go, because being, you know how autistics, they get real mad real easily. I'm like, I pound my fists on him like, what do you mean I'm not alone? And my voice, boom, that's when I discovered I had a loud voice. I'm like, sorry. The whole restaurant looked at me. He goes, Joe. He takes me outside and he takes me to meet these group of people that are age ranging from 12 up to 67 years old, and there's 8 of them. We'd crossed the Canadian border, taken up to this little town. I can't remember the name of the town. I really can't. And like the people in your documentary, they're sitting around a fire and all that. He calls my mom and dad and goes, I've got your son. I apologize. I should have told you that I came and picked him up at your guys' trailer earlier, and I took him fishing. My mom goes, oh, that's okay, Jeff. So he played it off. He goes, I'm going to have Joe for a couple of days. I said, my mom goes, okay, cool. As long as he's good, you got his medication on? He goes, yeah, I got his medication. No, he didn't. He wanted me to get it out of my system so I could actually be coherent. Because I'm 2 different people when I was on those meds. I was more coherent. You put me on the meds and I'm like a zombie. So he helped me flush it out of my system and goes, now I want you to meet some people that are just like you and I go, wait, what? I do a lot of the same looks I did. And I'm like, wait, what? Okay. So he introduces me to this girl named Lila. 12 years old. She'd been being abducted since she was a baby, since she was like 2 days old. I'm like, wow. And she tells me her story, and I'm like, and I just break down and start crying. She goes, who did you? She goes, let me guess, you saw Scooby-Doo and Voltron, right? When you were 5? I'm like, wait, what? She describes them in detail. Scooby had on this nice black suit, bow tie, and she describes the same way I described it. I'm like, how? I'm like baffled as hell. So, and I start listening to these people, and they start telling their story. That there was a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, no, excuse me, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old. And they damn near, as it got further into the years, they did damn near, they described the same entire thing. Scooby-Doo and Voltron, both in suits. Identical. And I'm like, my brain didn't know how to process it. I'm 9 years old. And he goes, I'll keep an eye on you. And I go, you haven't told me your story. He goes, mine was Smokey the Bear and what was his? Red Skelton. Classic. And 10 more of those people described the same thing. Smokey the Bear and Red Skelton. There's 20 of them there. And out of all of them, damn near all of them described Smokey the Bear or something else. I'm like, heck, there was one that threw me off. McGruff, the crime dog. I'm like, one of them put me under hypnosis and helped me open my mind. And he goes, tell me where you're at. And I tell him what I saw. I'm in this room. I'm in this big old round room. There's screens in front of me, almost identical to yours. There's screens in front of me, and I've got these different people talking different languages to me. It's like I know what they're saying. He goes, can you describe some of that language? And to this day, I can. It's funny, at the right times on how to speak the right languages. Of course, I'm German, Scottish, a couple other different mixes, but I've never really spoken fluent German or Russian, but suddenly it can come out of nowhere where I speak it instantly, fluently, at the right time. The language that I was hearing frequently back and forth between these two beings on each side of me was and I literally do not know the translation of it. It almost sounds like gibberish. I've talked to college professors I know throughout the years about that, and they said the closest thing that they can find to it is Sumerian. I'm like, wait, what? I can give you each time I've been abducted, but each time it's been different things. Finally got to a point when I was 20 years old. I'm living in California at the time, ironically. Yeah, went back to California where it all started. I don't own the home that I started in, but I went back to that street and I stood there in front of that house. And this guy comes out of nowhere and goes, you from around here? I said, no. I used to live here a long time. I used to live here 15 years ago. Because you lived right up the road, didn't you? Right up at this house. And I go, how'd you know that? He goes, because I used to live there. He goes, I had things happen to me in that house that I can't describe. Go try me. Because you probably won't believe me. You'll probably think I'm some type of nut. Like a lot of people around here do. So we go out for coffee and I go, tell me your story. He goes, when I was 5 years old, he goes, I was living in that house, or living in a house that was up the road from it. And he goes, when I turned around, who I saw standing in front of me was Ma and Pa Kettle. I'm like, I've heard that quite frequently from people when I've talked to them about stuff like this, that what they first saw is something that was significant to them or something that they felt safe with.
Hmm.
Clarissa Alanis. Hello, good morning. She's coming from the Philippines. Wow.
Very nice.
Hello,
Very nice.
Clarissa. And he describes what Ma and Pa Kettle look like. I know what they look like, of course. My grandpa drove me nuts with Ma and Pa Kettle. That's how I know. I grew up on the classics, so he drove me nuts with the classics, but now I became a fan. And this gentleman describes them in detail, describes them that they take him for a walk out in the yard, and they stick their hand out, and suddenly what comes out is that old, like next thing he sees is the Beverly Hillbillies truck come pulling up. He gets in it,
Mm.
and he says the next thing he knows is the Beverly Hillbillies truck is going down the road, and it's going upward. He said he felt so calm in there. And he
Mm.
goes, when he got to where he was going, he was surrounded by the people from the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm like,
Mm.
I believe you. But it wasn't that all
Hmm.
that you saw. He goes, what do you mean? I
Mm.
said, I know what you saw. You probably won't believe me either, but you're not alone. Big
Mm.
old buff surfer dude. I mean, this guy was huge, muscle upon muscle. He goes, what do you mean? I said, easy. This is one of them guys that could rip you apart with one arm. This guy was huge. So I'm sitting there in front of
Hmm.
him, and I said, look, I can tell you my story. And I tell him mine. He goes, suddenly his head starts doing this, and he goes, it wasn't mom. And then he goes, it wasn't Ma and Pa Kettle. It wasn't them. And it starts filling in the blanks. He goes, it was beings of bright light. And he starts describing
Hmm.
the same room I described to you, the same one you described on your documentary. Like I told you, you're not alone.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's the most important thing, I think, that's come out of this documentary is that we are not alone. And I mean that on the micro and the macro. People who have experienced this sort of abduction phenomena feel isolated. And yet, the truth is that there are literally millions of us. And in the macro, what this also means is this, is that we're not alone in this universe. See, the biggest interferer of this is our ego. We believe that we're the
Oh, yeah.
top of the food chain. So we're in control of everything, right? So this morning you got up in your air conditioned home, you got into your air conditioned car, you went down to a shop, they made coffee there in an air conditioned place, and you went to your office, it was air conditioned, and everything's electronic, and you feel like you're in control. You know, if you talk to almost anybody who's ever been a victim of a crime, you'll hear them say almost invariably, I never thought it could
Exactly.
happen to me. And this is the reason that they say this is because we truly believe that we are the sole provider of our reality. And what we are is we're participants in that reality. We're participants. And yes, we can forge ahead, but we have to be fully conscious to do that. That means understanding that we're not alone. That means understanding that these entities, these consciousnesses, are trying to have conversations with us in a language that we'll understand. And this is why they're represented by these screen memories. In your case, Scooby Doo and Voltron. In my case,
Ultraman.
you know,
Oh.
Ultraman. So if you don't mind, James, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions about the film? Like, for example, what did you think when you saw the reenactment of my abduction as a
The,
young boy?
I
How
felt
did you
like I
feel?
felt just when I told my dad about it. My dad being a Marine, of course, you know how
Mm.
Marines can be. My dad, it wasn't like, don't tell anybody. My
Oh
dad's
yeah,
like, just sits there giving me that stern look. He goes,
yeah. Square your
pretty
stuff
much, he
away.
said, look, I'm not telling you to hide it. He goes, but we do have people, he goes, I do have people that I deal with that I represent. He goes, you know, you're the son of a Marine, correct? I went, yes, sir. I got what he was saying, hide it. So I did. I buried it.
Sure.
The more I buried it, the more it hurt. What I felt was your pain because I was there. I thought I was losing my mind. This is part of me that I don't share openly with the public. This is part of me that's hard to share because I thought I was alone for so many years, and I've met so many abductees. It's people, it's unreal. People that I've known for years. I was talking to somebody the other day that described an experience to me, and I'm like, that's what made me reach out to you, is because I was talking to this guy, and this guy goes, Joe, I got something to tell you. And he starts going into the whole Whitley, how do you say his last name? Yeah.
Strieber. You speak German. I-E, remember, E is the vowel you want to touch. Strieber.
He goes, you ever heard of a book called Communion? And I'm like, have I?
Yeah.
Whitley Strieber. He goes, yeah. And I go, why? What suddenly brings this up? When I go, when did you get this book? He goes, I just ordered this like a week ago. I'm like, you don't read stuff like this. I go, you read Stephen King, you read horror. He goes, I've been having these dreams lately. And I go, tell me about them. Because I have a master's degree behind my name in criminal psychology. I was going to school to be a profiler. He goes, I need you to use your skills as a profiler to help me figure this out, Joe. You're good at what you do. He goes, you're my Sherlock Holmes. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there writing the stuff down, and I'm like, I'm not going to hypnotize you because I don't want to turn into a chicken. He goes, Joe, you're horrible. Last time I hypnotized somebody, they got stuck as a chicken for 2 days.
Oh.
Never again. Never again.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
He starts describing his dreams to me, and I'm like, Sigmund Freud, he called them not photo memories, transparent
screen.
Transparent non-specific noise memories is what he'd called it. And I said, and I go, so did you have a memory with no noise? He goes, yeah, like I was sitting watching a movie, but it was my life. And he goes, but what I was seeing, and I go, you were seeing Scooby-Doo? He goes, how the hell did you know that? I go, because you loved Scooby-Doo growing up. Him and I grew up in California together, same military family. Hell, he lived right next door to me, and then 15 years passes, and ironically, he was the big buff guy that I ran into in California. Same one. He's smaller now because he had a meth habit for a while, but now he's been clean 5 years. Same guy. I've known him forever. He goes, how the hell did you know Scooby-Doo? I go, because that was my go-to person. He goes, Scooby-Doo. I go, Scooby-Doo wearing a black suit with the bow tie? He goes, wait. He starts describing the room to me, and I go, you weren't the only one there. He goes, I know. He goes, I couldn't turn my head. He goes, but out of the corner of my eye, I could see other children there. You saw one with bright blue eyes. He goes, I go, I was right next to you in the next booth, next pod over.
Yeah. You remember inside the film, we have Jan Yonder, who also encountered consciousness and intelligence with very, very bright blue eyes as well.
See,
in fact, it's no, yeah, I see. You see, the cover of my film has a very bright blue, like an arc blue. Everything is done on purpose to communicate subliminally through color, through sound, through the voice, through tone, because there are multiple ways to communicate. And this is important for us, you and I, and for everybody. You know, you saw Scooby-Doo, other people saw something else. These are all knocks on our door to let us know that we are not alone. And there are other purposes for us being here other than just this three-dimensional world that we find
by the way,
ourselves
John,
in.
Deborah
We have a lot
Debs
bigger
is
opportunity.
watching.
Yes, sir. Oh, Well, we should probably introduce the rest of our audience to
Oh,
who
yeah.
Debs is. In the film, in the film, as you know, I was seeking for help, and I was really, I mean, this this thing had caused so much turmoil in my life. I had a tremendous fear of open sky and big water, and it was affecting my life, my job, my family, and I needed to come to grips with it. And through a set of friends, I met Debs Shakti, who is, well, first of all, you've heard the term, I'm sure, Christ consciousness, right? You've heard that term. This woman embodies that. And I tell everybody that. This is a person who literally, they say, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk. She walks the walk. And she gives off such a peace, such a love, such a service to others that I immediately felt resonance with her and knew that I had to talk to her. Now, I did not know when I first met her. Hey, Donna. Um, hey, Susan. When I first met her, I did not know that she had a global practice and that she was a quantum hypnotherapist. And but she said, and it's funny since she's here, I'll tell the story. She's I'm not a small guy. I'm about 6'3" and about
You're about the
270
same height as
pounds.
me.
She Yeah, she is this little tiny elf person. She's a pixie. She's this little person. And I don't want to sound like an old misogynist, but she was talking about helping me and talking about doing this quantum healing hypnosis on me. And I kind of looked down at her, physically. I looked down and like, well, little lady, ho, 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 that sort of thing. And she kind of gave me this impish smile, like, well, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, that sort of thing. And I got such a kick out of that. And she said, look, John, she said, I'm not going to do anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to relax. And all you're going to do is relax enough to walk down that hallway that you constructed, John, to walk through that door that you bolted shut, and to open up that cabinet door that you created with your own mind and soul and heart. And you're going to look inside that drawer, and all you're going to do is observe and report. And I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit here and just be moral support, but I'm going to help you learn how to relax. And that's exactly what happened. And through that process, we had an actual. I think this session was 6.5 hours long. Now, in the film, of course, which is 90 minutes, 120 minutes, you can't put 6 hours in there. But we had cameras, and then everybody got the heck out of the building and in other parts, and they locked the doors, and they just let us go. And what she did was she was able to help me relax. And when I went to that location, I found out, as you know, because you've seen the film, I was not Ultraman at all. And they didn't take me on a ship. And it wasn't the way I thought it would be. Now they didn't do experiments on me or anything like that. And I learned a lot. The main thing I learned was that there was a communication, a message. I learned also that I had been taken many times before. We haven't explored that, but this particular instance, it was very important to really kind of dig in because there was so much trauma associated with it. But I will tell you, my friend, and I'll tell your audience too, I am totally in love with that woman, Deb Shakti. She is an angel of light, and she is a force for good on this planet. Um, she helped me and pointed me. I was drowning. I'm going to tell you something. Drowning physically, drowning emotionally, drowning mentally, drowning in a bottle. Absolutely. And this woman helped me face my greatest fears. And she allowed me the space to explore it and took care of me, really nurtured me, shepherded me, to be honest with you. And through that, as you know, James, because you
Joe.
watch, she helps the audience. I'm sorry, Joe. You know, she helps the audience too. That energy, that power comes through and it reaches out to you. One of the first things you said to me when we first started to talk tonight, you said, I sense a peace that I have never felt. Very, 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 very rarely. And the reason is because you can see her assistance in this. It's a real, I consider a ministry. I consider a ministry. And so, and then you get to meet, as you know, in this film, it starts off with my story, but the truth is it's not my story. There are several people in the film, and these are, really smart people. There's moms and dads and people who have, like I said, global practices. We have a guy with a master's degree who has this design company, and all of these, we have teachers. These are regular people that something fucking incredible happened to. And they've all, and some of their experiences are the same as mine. Some of them were like yours. Some of them are totally bizarre to a normal person when they hear it. But they all have this commonality of other, and they all have this commonality of connection with that other and communication. As if to say, listen, Truman, you've been living in this world, but you are just a piece of it. If you look up, look out, and look in, you will discover, just like the mystics of old, that this is, in fact, just a piece of this reality. It's very, very complex. And understanding that and understanding that we're a piece of something much, much greater, and we have more ability to explore this, and no fear is needed. My God, man, that is a revelation that will change your damn life. And not only that, I paused at the end of the film. I say, look, how the heck can bright, shiny lights in the sky make me want to be a better person? It doesn't make any sense. But if you think of it in terms like this, if you knew that your life was 50 years and that was it, then you have every excuse in the world to be a hedonist, to treat people like dirt, to get everything you want, to scrape and knock anybody down, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because this is what it is. When you understand that you're part of something much, much bigger, and everything you do, like the butterfly effect, affects everything around you, you start to check yourself. You start to say, wait a second, what am I doing here? Why am I doing these things? Instead of just reacting like an ape or a robot, I am a conscious being. And so that opens up your mind to allow you to explore other things and help other people along the way. And this is where I find myself. So this film, you started off by saying, this is all about the positive aspects of it. But in truth, if you remember, it starts off pretty dark. The film starts off pretty dark because we have to talk to people about what they're experiencing now. They live in ignorance and fear because they don't know where to go or how to ask those questions. And what it does is it literally shepherds each one of us along the way to say, look, have you considered this? Have you considered this? And those synapses start to fire and you say, wait a sec. I experienced this, but I might have misinterpreted it. And this is one of the genius things about Whitley Strieber, as you mentioned. He's kind of this sage, thought-provoking, senior person that comes in. You see something very dramatic on screen, something maybe that pushes you personally. And then we cut to Whitley, who kind of says, look, this is what happened, and it's real, and it's not a lie, and you're not a liar, and you're not a cheat. You're telling the truth. And what you're doing, though, is you're so close to it, you might not understand what you're experiencing. I'll say this to you. You know, I'm an old guy. I hear all the time now, all these young people, my truth, my truth, my truth. I'm speaking my truth. I get a kick out of that because, you know, back in the day, if you would have said that, that would be like, well, that's, you know, opinion that nobody else has. That's your truth. But then, you know, I started to get involved with this and understand it a little bit differently. And this is the way I'd like to share this with you and your audience. Imagine, if you will, you took three of the smartest people in the world and you threw them in a dark room, right? And you've heard this analogy before, but I want to take it a next step, understanding. So you throw them in this dark room and you say, hey, what's in there? And one of the smart people says, this is a spear. Somebody says, are you crazy? This is a whip. Somebody says, are you guys nuts? This is a boulder. And you turn on the light and there's an elephant. Okay. Now watch. There are two aspects. There are two aspects that I really, really want to push home. Okay. Number one, these people are not lying. They are correctly observing the phenomena and they're wrapping their arms around as much as they can handle. So the person who said that's a spear didn't think that they were obfuscating or lying, but it's all they could feel. They had no idea that what was in that room was so much bigger that their senses could not, number one, take in, and number two, process. The person who thought it was the whip, the same thing. They were speaking their truth, and it wasn't a lie. It was just their recognition of the input that they were receiving. Our job then, when we realize that we, you and I, my friend, we're holding the tusk or we're holding the whip, we have got to illuminate that room and say, holy cow, this thing is so big. And yes, I might be able to consume it, but it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of work. I'm going to have to understand that my truth is just a piece of the overall. And then we're free. When you're free to do that, you can start to grow. Because, you know, you've met so many people with all the answers. They know everything. Well, if you know everything, you can't learn anything, right? You can't. You can't be taught. Because your entire reality, your entire world is in that little box. But everything we process is through the senses that we have. I mean, even our eyes. You've heard people say, I don't believe it if I can't see it. I told one guy, I said, well, why don't you stand in front of an x-ray machine for 2 weeks? I mean, you can't see the waves. Obviously, it won't give you cancer. It's a ridiculous posit. It's a ridiculous posit. They're
Seeing is
just
believing,
filters.
believing is
And what
seeing.
we have to, yeah, but that's all bullshit. You can't see x-rays. When's the last time, James, you tasted air?
Joseph.
Never.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, Joseph. I apologize. You look like a James. You look like a James to me. I
It's okay.
apologize, my friend Joseph. I
I've been called
apologize.
worse.
But
Last time I
when's the last
tasted
time?
air,
Well, no,
no.
you never did. You never did. Guess what, though?
Yeah.
It's there. Okay, you can see the effects of wind, but you
Yeah.
can't see wind, right? Right? It's there. This is what's happening. We are receiving input into the filters that we have of things that are just outside our perception, but they're there, just like that air, just like that wind. It blows, but you don't know where it's coming from or where it's going to. What our job is to, number one, quiet our minds and our hearts and our souls and recognize that we're the people holding the spear or the tail or pushing up against the side. And the moment that you realize there's something more, you can be taught. And you can stop and quiet your mind and learn to experience it more through your consciousness, examining it from every side. And this is what I don't want to say I'm struggling with because I I realize it. What I'm doing now is trying to incorporate it, integrate it. I know it sounds kind of woo-woo, but the truth of the matter is a very simple, it's a very simple and direct line. If you constantly think about those three people in that black room, they just can't conceive what's in there. Just like us, we're in the dark. We can't conceive what's there. And all we can do is just touch the outer periphery and try to struggle with our understanding. And that's why it's so important also for us to work together, all of us, as a species, not just people who say they've had contact or been abducted, but we are all together. I mean, I don't care if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, or if you're a very religious person. Watch this. Watch this. There's no difference. Let me prove it to you. Right? Very religious person will say, listen, there's a God creator and we're all from that. Okay, fine. Okay. Let's say you're agnostic and you say, well, listen, I'm not quite sure, but it looks like there's some sort of intelligent design. And so there's obviously a designer, right? Or let's say you're a total atheist and you say, listen, we're all the product of this great big bang. Okay. Well, let's just say that you're right. Well, guess what? That means you, Joseph, are from the same source that I am. Whether you call that the Big Bang or the intelligent design or God the Creator, you and I are made of the same stardust. Now, wait a minute. You got to take it to the next level. If everything is from that same source, then are from the same source too. Then we're all related. We all have a connection. If I asked you to cut off your thumb, right? Are you harming yourself? Well, the truth is your heart, your head still works, right? But you'd be harming yourself if you cut off your thumb. Your thumb is not your hand, but your hand would not be a hand without a thumb. This is why it's important for all of us to understand this and work together and explore this together. And that's what this film is supposed to do. It's a kind of a launching point. It's to get people to start to think, to get through the fear and the ignorance to some sort of understanding. And I'm trying so hard to make a second film which picks up right there. And what that does is it takes us from that tertiary understanding to some sort of integration. And what I mean by that is this. Look, when you're so afraid, okay, number one, you're blinded by that fear like a deer in the headlights, right? But when you start to get through that fear, and start to absorb the information, right? You calm down because now you're having information. You can start to incorporate that into you. You can start to make decisions. Here's a silly example. Joseph, you and I are in a truck and we're going down the road and there's a flash flood, right? Washes. Now that's kind of a scary thing, man. You've seen a flash flood. That's pretty scary. God Almighty, all that water coming down. Okay, so look, if we're unprepared, we might be reacting out of hand. We might drive into a tree. We might fall into the water. We might drown. We don't know. Okay, but if we knew that water was coming, right? If we knew, we could say, hey, listen, Joseph, we pop this up and high. We can ford this water. Or you might say, you know what, John? I've got a canoe on the top of this truck. We can go over that. Or I might say to you, hey, listen, you know what? I know another way around this. We can take that road. But only after we have that information and we have taken it inside ourselves can we make decisions. But if you're so damn afraid, right, which is where I found myself, and where many people find themselves. They can't take the information in. They're frozen. It's too big for them. The elephant is too big. The problem is too big. So my second film is about taking that information and making it part of yourself so you, Joseph, me, our friends, our brothers, our sisters, everybody, can make decisions based on that information. Now, they still might decide not to engage, not to participate. They may. Or they may say, I didn't know I had a choice. And that's the biggest light bulb. I didn't know that I could not be a victim of this, but I could participate in this. That gives you power as a person. And then the third film that I have envisioned is taking people from that integration, having that information inside them, right? And taking them to some sort of place where they can ascend. And I'm not talking about flying around like an angel. What I'm saying is this: I don't give a damn who's watching this. We all started the same place, on our faces, like little people, and we were crawling, okay? And when we started to crawl, we learned how to kind of wobble and stand up. And after we stood up, we learned how to toddle, and then we learned how to walk, and then we learned how to run. But it was a process. So we can't just take people from, hey, listen, I know you're scared out of your effing mind. You know what? Everybody should be together. We should all be one. You can't do that. You've got to take it in bits and pieces. And I think the world is so full of hurt and pain and misunderstanding that I wanted to start exactly with my pain and misunderstanding and expose it to the world. And if I had to look like a fool, all right, then I'm an idiot. If I had to look like a scaramouche, okay, fine, I'm a moron. But I can ask those questions and people can sit in their living room and they don't have to be embarrassed. But at the end, like you know you're not alone. And neither are they. And that's really what, I don't want to say, a lot of people talk about being on a mission. I don't know that's my mission. All I know is me as a human being, I am desperate for these answers. And I am undaunted and I will continue to look for them. And if people, you know, this film is different than every other kind of documentary you've seen because most documentaries are like third person narratives. You know, you see kind of an old clip and you hear like, you know, Walter Cronkite at the back, you know, back in 1957, right? But you know, from the very first frame, you're with me. You're riding on my shoulder. You're in my pocket. You're going to go through this thing with me. And that kind of visceral sort of therapy is what I'm so desperate to convey to our audience. And why you know, so many people today, I think you'll agree with me on this, so many people today are so concerned with being right that they don't give a shit about being correct. Here's an example. You could go on Twitter tonight and say, you know, happy Wednesday, right? An innocuous statement. You have 1,000 people up your behind saying, hey, listen, what do you have against Tuesday? And then you have another 1,000 people say, you're a Thursday denier. What the hell is that? Nobody gives a shit about anything about being correct. And I'm all about wiping all that crap out of the way. Okay, yeah, people scream and they yell and they, okay, but in the quiet moments, that midnight of their soul, they can see this film and they can look around and nobody's making fun of them and they can be at peace with it and start to learn to look inside and start to deal with all this stuff. Because I'll tell you, things happen, but we are the ones that cause the calluses. We, human beings, are the ones that decide how we're going to react. We're the ones who either choose to heal or choose to drown in that fear and hate. And brother, I'm going to tell you something. I lived my entire life that way. Hate, self-disgust, loathing, fear, and just complete aloneness. To the outside world, I was a normal guy. Inside, I was dying every day. Today, I feel like I've lost a lot of time. So what I'm doing is every moment, you reached out to me. You wanted to talk. I said, yes, immediately, right? There was no pretense. Because if you and I are together on this and we're friends, I don't know you, but we're friends and we're brothers. We're part of this thing together. And it's important for me to convey this to you. You convey this to your friends and your acquaintances and your employees and your viewers, because this is how it starts. It has to be mind to mind and heart to heart and consciousness to consciousness. We have to make the decision to change. You mentioned something. You said something very interesting earlier. You were talking about places that you had lived throughout the country, okay? And you had talked about Montana. And you had said about Malmstrom Air Force Base, right? I'd like to share something with you about that. Now, you know all the facts, but do you know the reality of that story? And now, don't be so quick. Don't be so quick, because the reality of that story is dissecting the facts. Remember, you can know a lot of stuff. That doesn't make you wise. It makes you knowledgeable. So watch this. Let's take a look at Maelstrom in the most basic way. Lights come up over the horizon, right? Guys behind the fence shitting themselves, right? Guns locked and loaded, ready to shoot this damn thing. They call their commander, right? Commander's like, what the hell? Everybody, he locks it down. Okay, we're going to blow this thing out of the sky. Everybody, get ready, right? This thing doesn't approach anymore. It stays there. And through either tech or through consciousness tools, reaches past all those people, all that concrete, all that steel, and one by one turns off the most powerful weapons in the world. One by one. And our guys are losing their damn minds, right? And so to us, this is an act of war. How dare you reach into our most powerful, technically advanced weapons, and we want to fight? Okay, we're filled with ignorance because we don't know how it happened. We're filled with fear because, oh my God, if you could turn them off, you could turn them on us, right?
That's
And we're
funny you
messing
say
up.
that. I was on a military base
So,
once, an off the books military base up in Alaska, commonly called Project Shadow. What you just
yeah,
described happened. Actually, it's kind of weird that you say that, because that's what I was thinking about. Lights come up,
for sure.
Nome, Alaska, way up the mountains. The sun
Yeah,
comes over the horizon, stops quarter mile out. Guys are locked and loaded, like
yeah,
you said, and suddenly the entire base goes dead. The general of
of
the base,
course,
want to know what? He was
of
actually a
course.
calm man. People are going, let's fire. He goes, no. He goes, if
Yeah.
they were going to bring war, they would have already done something. And suddenly
Well, you know what? He's a
the
wise
thing
man.
goes, the base fires
He's a
back up.
wise man.
You watch the thing go, sit there, hover for
Yeah,
a minute, back.
sure. Well, watch this. Let's go inside the orange. So this thing in Maelstrom hovers there, like you say, up in Nome, Alaska too, and then slowly pulls back, and then one by one, these missiles come back online, right? So they pull in the smartest guys they have, and they check all the systems and all of the redundant systems, and they can't find a single glitch. Okay, now to us, this is a threat, right? To our minds. But look what happened. That light came up, that consciousness came up, those entities came up, that being came up, looked at the most dangerous weapons on the face of the planet, and had the power to turn them off one by one. Just like a parent who sees a child with a pack of matches or getting too close to an oven and says, son or daughter, don't do this. Now watch. I'm going to turn this off because this is going to harm you and everybody around here. This is going to do this. We need to turn this off. Now watch. Now watch. If they had the power to turn them off, they had the power to explode each one of them, but they didn't do that because their goal was not destruction. Their goal was a lesson. They said, look, we're going to teach you by example. These things need to be turned off. They will destroy you and everything around you. Now, watch this. They hover for a little bit, just so we know that it's not an accident, that it's them. Then, slowly but surely, they drift off. And after a while, one by one, these things come back online. Now watch. If this is a coincidence, then how did it happen also in Nome and China and Russia and Australia? Because there are stories from all of these bases where these things are turned off and turned on. They are saying to us, listen, you are not morally, spiritually ready to handle this kind of technology. It will destroy you. But watch also, they also are wise in that if they took them from us or destroyed us or whatever, all it would do is make us even more adamant to fight them. Because how dare you tell me what to do? As I said, people are more interested in being right than correct. They'd rather fight over nothing. So what they do is they give us the choice. They show us a better way, but then they allow us to make our own decisions. And I can tell you, I'm a father, so teaching your children by this is a very painful and come catch method, but it's the only way to truly learn your lesson, because then you have made, you, me, us, we have made the decision for peace. So you can't decide a negative, right? I can't decide to lose weight. I can only decide to live more healthy. I can only decide that I will only eat things that are better for me. I can't just will losing weight. I can't just will losing a bad attitude. I have to fill it with something. I have to fill that gap with the positive. I must choose to serve others. I must choose to be right. I must choose not to be afraid. Even though I'm afraid, I have to choose. This is what courage is, as you know. A courageous person is not afraid. Of course, they're petrified, but they choose to do it regardless. And this is where we are. We're on the precipice. Man, if you see the news coming out from the governments of the world, right? They're all saying, oh, well, we've lied. Really, really, have you? Have you, Pentagon? Have you, DOD? Of course they have. Because the government only does two things. People get all confused about this. And I said, look, you can break it all down to the two things. Look, governments tax because they need money to do stuff, right? And then they control stuff. They control how fast you drive. They control what you eat, control where you go. They just control. And they also control information, right? So watch this. Watch what's happened, Joseph. So the government says, hey, listen, we have these reports. This stuff has been happening. We are under surveillance. We don't know where it is. We're really having a hard time. Okay, look, there are three types of people in the world. You got the first type of people who think that you and I are absolute kooks. Right, we're absolute kooks. That's a bunch of BS, a bunch of put your tinfoil hat, and you're stupid, you don't know anything. And they stare at their feet because that's their reality, right? Then you've got these pseudo intellectuals who sit around a campfire and say, I guess I can determine that all the billions of stars, there may be life out there, but how does that affect me? I pay this and bills, and I'm raising kids, and okay, fine, there's that. And then there are people like you and me that live with this reality and are trying to work with it and understand it and trying to participate with it and discover it. Okay, now watch. The government comes out and explains that they, in fact, don't know, and they are just as baffled as we are, and they are trying to find out, and they are willing now to take reports and everything else. Watch this. This is a very important paradigm shift. All of these guys who look at the ground, They look at their feet and they call you and me idiots and fools and worse than that, right? They say this. They say, what the hell? What do you mean the Pentagon and the DOD? What the hell are these guys looking at? For the first time, and this is nuanced, man, for the first time in their lives, they look up, they look out, they look in. Watch, here's the nuance. Not only do they look up for the first time in their lives, they look with an expectation because there's something there. They also look with almost a duty to report because other people are seeing stuff and they don't want to be left behind. What the hell's going on? I want to know. That second type of people, the ones that sit around the fire and theorize, but nothing happens to them. And what does it have to do with them? They say, well, my God, wait a minute. You mean the government's known about all this for so many years? And this is wait a minute. They're using our tax money? What are these people looking at? That's how it affects them. And for the first time, just like the first group of people, they look up and out and in with expectation. They look up and out and within with a sense of duty. And then you and I sit back here and we go, welcome to the party, right? We've been telling you for years that something's going on. Welcome to the damn party. So this is what is going to happen. This is going to become a domino effect where more and more people are in fact open to the possibility. And not only that, they begin to experience the quote unquote other. And when that happens, people realize that their point of view, and I'm just talking about looking out from inside, needs to be 360 as opposed to just one direction. And this, my friend, is really the destination. These aliens, these entities, these consciousnesses, and there are many. You know, everybody tries to define, oh, these are Arcturians. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. There are billions and billions and trillions of stars. Okay? You don't know that everything that's happening is happening there. It's all over the place. But we're trying to define it because we want to control it. We have egos. We want to control the narrative. Oh, I know they're all Martians. No, you're a dummy. You're saying that, but you have no idea what you're saying. What we do know is that it's not us. Even though it is, as I said earlier, part of us and we are part of it. We must open our minds and our hearts to examine this. And then after we examine, we start to experience and start to interact. And we will discover, my friend, it changes everything. You're a pretty fair-skinned guy, right? So am I. I'm an Irish kid. If I walk out in the sun, if I walk out in the sun and I just stay out there, I'll burn. Does that mean that the sun is evil? No. What it means is it's fucking powerful. Right? Yeah. So the sun is fucking powerful. So we have to deal with it with respect. We have to understand the precautions. We have to understand that we as people have to be prepared to deal with the sun. And that's where we are now. We have to understand that we have to be prepared for this. And the very first thing in being prepared is to wrestle with that fear. And this brings me full circle back to Debs. I was a closed off, dead person, man. Dead in the soul, dead in the head. And she really, I can't say enough about her. I hope every single person in the world talks to this lady. She provides a ministry, a service to the world. And she has done so much great work for so many people. And it's her blessing and her curse, too, because I'm sure she'd like to sleep occasionally. Yeah. So, brother, I talk a lot. Like I said, I'm an Irish guy. If we had whiskey, shit, I'd be here for 3 weeks. But I'm trying not to do that anymore.
I haven't drank in 13 years.
Oh, God bless
Excuse
you.
me,
I'm glad.
I tried to take a shot out of an alcohol bottle about that much, took it and spit it right back. I'm like, ugh. I remember when I quit drinking
Yeah.
because when I drink,
Yeah.
because me being Irish and German and Scotch and Russian, I turn into an instant, as my
Yeah.
ex-wife would say, an instant asshole.
Oh. Well, I didn't need alcohol. I was pretty good,
I don't need
completely
alcohol.
sober. I was a professional asshole. That was me.
When someone calls me an asshole, I tell them, thank you. You want to see my business card? They're like, wait, what? I go, on my business card, it says professional asshole.
Yep. Services for
But I,
rent. So let me ask you something. What did you think? What was your personal favorite part of the film?
personal favorite part of the film. Hmm. Right when it got to I can't think of his name. He's the almost looks like not the Asian looking one, the one with kind of the shaved head. He almost could be Asian. I'm not sure. He was the one that's saying, yeah,
Yon Yonder? Yon
the one that
Yonder?
was talking about
Okay.
the popcorn
And
man.
what was he?
Yeah, when he was talking about
Popcorn Man.
him,
Yes, sir.
when he said people had told him he was crazy, he'd went to therapy, taking meds, and then when he got around these other people, he says, "See, now look on the news. I'm not so crazy."
Yeah,
Yes,
who's crazy now?
I loved
Who's
him because
crazy
he
now? Yeah.
literally watching the other people talking. Him and Kimberly were my two favorite. Well, next to you and
Oh, yeah.
Deb's. Next to you and Deb's, Kimberly and
Oh,
Yon Yonder were my two favorites because Kimberly
yeah.
just was
Yeah.
amazing. Just the way she was describing, because I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's my story. Because I'm a spirit medium, clairvoyant, and
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm a remote viewer, and I'm a sensitive. I'm a lot more than that, but I'm severely sensitive when it
Wow.
comes to certain sounds. I've got all the clairs, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm extremely sensitive because
Oh,
I have 71% hearing loss, 41% hearing loss from working on concert speakers. Before that accident happened, I grew up in the woods, and you know how if you grow up in the woods, you can hear further. Now that I've lost my hearing partially, I can hear differently. Like the Jonathan Kern, I was on the phone with him and his wife earlier, right after I got off the video with you, and I'm sitting there closing my eyes, and I went, "Which one of you just went to the hospital for a heart checkup?" The whole room, they both go quiet. His wife goes, "I did." Okay, you have a heart murmur. She goes, "How'd you know that?" I said, "I can hear it." She goes, John goes, "Wait a minute, you can hear
mm,
her heart?" And I go, "Yeah, I can hear someone's heart and tell when
mm,
something's wrong." Like on the series Hannibal, he
yeah.
can smell when something's wrong. Mine is I can hear. I was standing next to somebody the other day,
I
walking
see.
down the street, and we were right next to the hospital. And I go, I was on the bus, and I pulled the lever, got off the bus, and stopped and talked to this. I go, "You okay, sir?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "What's going on with your heart?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Your heart's
Mm,
irregular." I go, "Something's wrong with your," and he goes, he's got this manila envelope in his hand. He goes, "Tell me more." And I said, "You have a blockage of the left vehicular, the thank you." That's what I
ventricle.
tell him. He
Ventricle.
goes, he hands me the file. He goes, "Open it up and read it." I look at it, and he goes, his exact words were, "How the fuck did you know that?" And I go, "I can hear it." He goes,
Yeah.
"You want to hear spooky?" I go, "What's that?" He goes, "I've been through some of the same experiences you have." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, bright light, table, screens, listening to everything." And I go,
Uh,
I
uh,
turn around and go, "Say, who are you?" I turn back around and he's gone. I'm like, anybody else? If that would have been me before I realized what
yeah.
I could do, I'd have been like, I'd have freaked out. And I'm like, okay. I just look at the sky and I go,
Yeah.
thank you again. I continued on my way.
Well,
I just look at the sky and I'm like, thank you.
I think that's a really wise thing, Joseph, that I did not share until recently was the power of gratitude. You know, I think you're a wise man, and I want to congratulate you on that because that's something in you, and I think that's what we have to be. We have to thank the universe. We have to thank we get every day is a gift, of course, but these experiences that you have. I saw Debs had said something about no wonder, you know, these ETs are interested in you because of your gifts. I unfortunately am giftless. I am like a pet rock. I
Actually, you
have
have
no
more than you
gifts.
realize.
Uh, but I'll say this. I am probably the most inquisitive guy you may ever meet. And maybe that's my gift. And I'm very happy about that. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Joseph. If you had to describe, um, if you had to describe the film to somebody, I'm always asking people this because, you know, I'm so close to it, right? But you saw it
Yeah.
today for the first time. If you had to describe it to a third person, let's just say we had a friend of ours walking in here. Well, how would you describe the film?
How many words?
It could be one. You could say shit if
Um,
you want. You could say whatever you like.
peacefully mind blowing. Because,
Oh,
like I said before, I've watched documentaries and I'm like, uh-uh. Some movie put
yeah,
it this way.
yeah,
When I watched The Fourth Kind the first time, that's when it awoke,
yeah,
when I started realizing what I went through. When I saw the movie, I'm not gonna lie, it freaked the
yeah.
fuck out of me. I went to sleep that night and I started beating the crap out of my
Sure.
wife in my sleep. And she
Oh
threw
my
me on the
goodness! Don't
floor.
do
I wake up, I'm like,
that. You
I'm sitting here going like this on the floor,
deserved it.
seizing, and she goes, honey, I sit up long enough. I'm looking past her, and I can, no joke,
Yeah.
I'm 37 years old. Because that movie's been out for a while. Because I look past her shoulder, and I'm like, and my body is petrified, and I'm seeing something
Uh,
stand behind her, like that light being, and I'm like,
yeah.
she goes, honey, what is it? And I pass out, and I wake up a couple hours later. I'm in the hospital. I'm like,
Oh
she goes, honey,
my.
it's all right. I'm like, what happened? She goes, you had a really bad grand mal seizure. And I go, please tell me you saw what was behind you when you turned around. She goes, honey, I I go, you didn't see it. I thought I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
It
Sure.
wasn't until a nurse came in the room, or not a nurse, an orderly came in the room. They go, we may have to keep him overnight, so can we have you step outside so we can talk to him? They stepped out. You've seen Daredevil, right? How he's capable of
Yes.
hearing. Um,
Yes.
So that was a call. I was declining it.
I understand.
My fiance is going to kick my ass. That was no, that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, brother.
I want to tell my story. I want it to be known. I've been afraid to tell this part of my story, and I get out and orderly. And I'm what I mean by Daredevil is the way that he hears.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that still to this day. Right now, that's why you see me keep doing this, looking around,
Huh.
and I'm listening to cars as they're going past because I'm right next to a road. There was a cop that pulled in the cross the street in the driveway briefly over here next to the Catholic Church. Ironically, I'm across from a Catholic church, and he pulled in. And I could hear him talking on his radio. He was just getting ready to take his lunch. I could hear him getting out of his car, going to the back of his car, getting a sub sandwich. How I know who it is that pulls in over here. He does this damn near the same time every night. Pulled out his lunch,
Uh,
and right when he was getting ready to eat it, I could hear the radio come across. Domestic violence situation at such and such neighborhood down the road. You hear, fuck.
what a shame. What a shame.
This
Yeah.
is why I'm saying how good my hearing is, because I can pick up on vibrations.
Mm.
And this orderly comes into the room and goes, I'm like, huh? He goes, I'm like, you can't talk at all, you're mute. He goes, I go, are you telling me nicely to be quiet and are you nicely telling me to shut up and listen? He goes, I'm like, I'm mute telling me to shut up. He goes, he goes,
I see.
I'm like, what do you mean by this? He's telling, I go, wait a minute, are you telling me to shut up, silence my mind, and listen? He goes, he goes, he goes, I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me to shut up? He goes, I go, silence my mind, listen, and open my heart and be willing to listen. He goes, and he closes his eyes.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm like, okay, so I close my eyes, and I can hear him clear as day in my head now. He goes, hello. He goes, my name's Wesley. He goes, I was sent to help you silence your mind and open your heart. I go,
How about
he
that?
goes, don't open your mouth because it'll break the connection. I go, wait a minute. I go, the story I told you where I met the guy on the trolley, had gotten up and talked to him.
Yes, sir.
That's a 9-year-old story. I go, wait a minute, Wesley. I got my eyes closed. He goes, keep your eyes closed. I go, wait a minute. I go, you're the gentleman from the trolley when I saw him. He goes, I'm the same one. Just different forms we take. To talk to those we must. I go, of course the question comes out, why me? He goes, why not you? I go, why couldn't you chosen like a doctor, a physicist, someone else? He goes, you have a lot still to do. He goes, you are going to come out of retirement from what you do. And I go, I will never step back in the field of the paranormal. I go, I will never step back in this field of spirituality. I will never step back in the field of UFOlogy ever again. Because it's scared. I saw I walked away from paranormal when I was 23 because I took on a case that dealt with demonic, paranormal, and child abuse. So that caused me to walk away because it was buried by the people I was investigating for. A year later, I decided to go into the UFOlogy field. And something that affected me that I will always remember for the rest of my life. It didn't happen until about the summer of when I was 24. No, next summer I was 25. So I'm sitting there out on a lake, on a boat, ironically. I know it sounds like the Charles and, the heck is his name? Charles, the little story you're telling, Charles and his son. The two people that were in the lake in the Pagan, something River, Mississippi. In the documentary where there was two guys on a lake on a river in Mississippi. They told the cops. Calvin,
Pascagoula, Mississippi. Yes.
I was just reading about it. Thank you, Calvin.
It's okay.
I was out on a lake.
Yeah.
See, I have eidetic memory recall, and it drives people nuts that I can remember things like that.
Oh, I know what it is.
So I'm out on a lake, ironically, of all places, Montana. And I'm up in, what lake was it? Ashley Lake, where I grew up at. We had a cabin up there, so you're all sorts of things would happen up there. So I'm out on the lake, and suddenly I end up falling asleep because, well, I'm not gonna lie, I've been drinking. So I went. Goal was to drink myself to sleep. That was the goal. It happened. I drank myself to sleep. I wake up and I'm on an island, and I'm like, where the? I look out, and normally our cabin, family cabin was, you could see it from the little island on
Yeah.
in the lake, 2.5 miles. You could see it like 2.5 miles away because it'd be
Yeah.
lit up. I'm on an island, and I look around, and there's no land in sight. I'm like, huh, um, um, my boat's little raft I was in is gone. I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay. I go, okay, Joe. You've studied psychology. Look at this from a psychology point of view. First of all, calm your ass down. So I'm calming down. I go, okay. At the time I had my master's degree behind my name in psychology. I was working on my doctorate. So I'm sitting there going, okay, what is the first thing they tell you in psychology? Throw out everything you think you know about psychology. If you're in a situation like this could be a benefit. I'm going, literally trying to convince myself that I'm hallucinating, first of all. And I hear a voice say, you're not hallucinating. I'm like, first thing goes through my mind, okay, I'm talking to myself. The voice goes, you certainly are not. If you were talking to yourself, how would I have a different voice than you? Wouldn't that be inaccurate for someone to have a voice different than you? I go, well, if I had split personality, my voice could change. The voice goes, yeah, I'll give you that. I turn around, and there's no possible way this man could be there because he'd passed away. It was my great grandfather, Willis. I turn around, I'm like, oh,
Mm.
hi. He goes, I'm not your grandfather, Willis, but I chose an image from your mind that would suit its purpose,
Yeah.
that would cause you to feel a less. I go, freaked out? You could have chose any other image but this one. I am freaked out. Forgive me for a minute. He puts his hand out like this, and bright light comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, oof. And it takes the image of my stepdad, Thomas, that him and I were really close at the time. He's like, is this better for you? I'm like, uh-huh. He goes, I go, who are you? He goes, who I am is not important of who I am. It's who you are that is important. Where I come from is a long ways from here. And I go, that's what I was just thinking. He goes, I'm aware. He goes, a lot of how we communicate is through telepathy. He goes, but I'm not actually here. He goes, we are so far advanced that we can generate our consciousness across the universe. I go, is that the same principle with when you're seeing a UFO, or you guys, they're seeing you coming out of the UFO, they're calling you grays and that? He goes, yes. I went, wait, what? He goes, we're not actually there. He goes, the UFO is there. He goes, all that is he goes, think of it from your human terms of car. He goes, but we're not physically in the car. He goes, that's so it can take our consciousness across the universe. I'm like,
Mm.
he goes, mind blowing, isn't it, that we have that technology that we can project ourselves? He goes, what? He goes, you're a witch, correct? And I go, because I'm a Wiccan. I can leave my body. I can astral project. Most people, it blows their mind, I'm a Christian Wiccan Odinist. I'm capable of astral projecting out of my body and going multiple places. He goes, think of it from your perspective. He goes, but he goes, this is a section of our soul, our body that we're putting there. He goes, you can astral project multiple places at one time. He goes, but are you capable of astral projecting across an entire universe if you were given that chance? I'm like, that's a lot of power. He goes, that's what we're capable of doing. Go, what is your race? He goes, so many people have so many names for our race. He goes, Greys, Draconians, Zetons, reptile people. He goes, whatever you want to call us. He goes, we are one. I'm like, he goes, we're oneness. I'm like,
Mm.
wait a
Mm.
minute. At the time, I had been was a fan of Ramana Ram, Ramadasna, if that name sounds familiar. Rama, I can't think of his name. He talks about consciousness and oneness all the time, and he goes, "We
Okay.
are everywhere and nowhere all at once."
Mm.
And I'm thinking
Mm.
in my head, mind, are you God? He goes, no, we're not God. He goes, but he goes, look at it from a point of view. It's funny, since you've been talking, I've been thinking about this tribe that he told me about, and I actually looked them up, and they're a real tribe. They're known as the Shakara tribe in the Amazon. They had never seen man, white man, any man ever. He goes, think of it from the Shakawa tribe, and I'm like, huh? He goes, just bear with me. He takes his hand and does this, waves his hand, and you see like this bright energy just open up, looks like a door. He goes, come with me. I'm like, am I asleep? He goes, no, you're wide awake. He goes, I brought you on a journey, and we stepped through this, I'll call it gateway, doorway, whatever you would like to call it. And we're in Africa. I knew we were in the Amazon because I'd been to the Amazon before in my as a teen with my dad. My dad was military, so when he would take shore leave, he'd take us to some of the most magnificent places. And I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't been here. And he goes, you haven't been here since you were a child. I knew right where we were. He goes, you lead the way. And we get, and he just says, stop. He goes, peer through that brush. So I peer through the brush, and he goes, see the Shakala tribe? And I'm like, oh my God, they're real. He goes, how? Okay. He goes, if they see a white man, are you not alien to them? I'm like, you've got a point there. Now to touch base on your four little people in your spaceship with all different agendas. He goes, now,
Mm.
he goes, look at them. Look at how peaceful they are. Look at what they do. They communicate. They talk to each other. He goes, they grow fruit. They do this. They do that. He goes, now if you were to bring you, me, he goes, let's say the real person of your dad and your mom here, would you not be aliens to them? And they would look at you all differently because y'all
Mm.
look, he goes, y'all look differently.
Mm.
I'm like, he goes, look at it from like when you were in Afghanistan. I'm like, eh. He goes, I apologize for reading your mind. He says, when you went to Afghanistan, was that not an alien role to you? And I'm like, yeah, it was. He goes, now when you went to Germany, was that not an alien role to you? And I go, yeah, because I've never been there before. He goes, now if you were to come into their world, they would think you were from another world.
Mm.
He goes,
Mm.
does that make sense to you? And I said, yeah, it does, actually. He goes, I have to take you back to where you originally started. Where he takes me
Mm.
back is when I was 5 years old, and I'm standing there, the 25-year-old version of me looking at the 5-year-old version going, why are you showing me this? He goes, because you need to see this. He goes, we didn't come to harm you. He goes, there are so many people out there that say we come to harm them. We probe, we do this. He goes, we choose those. Yeah, he says, choose. I'm like, wait a minute. You chose me? He goes, you were chosen long before you were ever here. You were chosen to come here. He goes, do you not remember? I remember being a little child, but not a child of here. I remember being a little child singing in a room full of other children. They all look different. I go, they would look like something out of like, I said the best way to describe it, sci-fi movies. He goes, races. I'm like, okay. He goes, different races. And I go, okay. He goes, I go, that would be like the nursery. He goes, yes. He goes, you were chosen long before you came here to come here, to go to who you went to. Like the lady was saying in her video, in your video. He goes,
Mm.
when you were brought here, did you not want to learn? I go, as I started getting older, I knew things that other kids didn't. I was able to understand things that most adults found complex. And as I got older, as I got older, I started realizing this was much more than my autism, because they say autistics can understand things better than most people. I said, this was so much more than just my autism. I was able to understand languages that were dead: Inca, Aztec, Maya, Sumerian. Um, what's the other one? Christ, Christ language. Language that Christ spoke wasn't Hebrew. It was Aramaic, Enochian. I mean, I was able. What you saw me staring at so hard earlier is something I started doing about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
You notice the hidden symbology in it?
I am seeing it.
I've been doing stuff like this my entire life. When I start doodling, believe it or not, that started out one little line like this, and I just went, and I can read it. It's a language,
Mm-hmm.
because I showed it to someone the other day, and they're like, "Where'd you learn that?" And I go, "Learn what?" I try to play dumb with them. They go, "That's a language." I go, "Tell me what it says." They said, "Pure oneness." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you notice how all the lines connect and it just looks like one solid mass? I've been doing drawings like that my entire life. And I've always, it's like when I'm in the paranormal field, I believe in what they call para-unity, all of us working together. When you said hate, I don't know hate, believe it or not. I don't. And it's weird. That's funny. I was just getting ready to touch base on that, Debs. That's creepy. I do that all the time. I'm an automatic writer. One of my gifts is an automatic writer. I'll be sitting there and I'll just be starting out, and I'll suddenly go. I'll sit there and I'll start and I'll go into like this trance. It's the best way to put it. And lately, when I've been dreaming at night and sleeping, I haven't been. I astral project and I check on people I love. One of my other counterparts to my team, her name is Ashley Abbott. She's part of a team up in uh, New Hampshire. I go up there and I check on her. I have an astral projection that I send toward my ex-wife and my baby mama. Check on them toward my son that's in this state, but he's down in Tallahassee. I go and check on him. As Deb said, as someone would say, multidimensional traveling. I'm capable of splitting my astral self multiple ways and leaving them there. And because when I was talking to Jonathan, his ex-wife, and I believe in past, or his wife and I believe in past lives, so does he. She goes, I feel a piece of you here. She goes, we started talking, we picked up conversation of something that happened back in the day of the Whitman massacre up in Oregon. And I was able to to describe what had happened up there. And she goes, there's a piece of you up here. And I go, it was left up there all those lifetimes ago to watch and observe. I've lived multiple lives. And I can recall every one of them, and I can put myself in multiple places to protect those I love. I don't step into someone else's home unless invited in. And it's funny, that same being that came to me in the look of my dad, there was two nights ago, matter of fact, I'm laying there sleeping and I hear, wake up. I'm like, my eyes come open. I turn and there's a chair. Yeah. I turn it because there's a chair. Right. Come on. Good turn. Right there that I sit in at night. I turn and I'm looking around. He goes, you remember me, Joe, don't you? And I go, Huh. I go, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I go, you still have that same appearance. He goes, I chose the one that was settling for you. And I go, that one's not settling no more. Because my mom and my dad divorced, and it,
Mm.
thank God, it happened when I was an adult, but it still affected me. He goes, I choose one that's settling for you. And I go, not Scooby-Doo in a suit, please. No more.
Mm.
What he chooses instead, what I think is interesting. I have a 3-year-old son named Christopher. He chose an image of what
Oh.
my son would look like if he was older. I'm like,
Oh.
uh, he goes, is this more settling? I have tears in my eyes. He goes, I can change it. I said, no. So you chose an image of what my son will look like. He goes, this is what your son will look like when he's 15 to 16 years old. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, this, I go, why are you here? He goes, to bring you a message. You're not connected like you were anymore. Get connected again. I go, who am I
Mm.
supposed to seek out? He goes, you'll know him when you find him. And it's interesting. The next day, literally, I come across Alien Abduction Answers, the trailer. A friend of mine sends it to me. And I hear the voice in my head, you found him. I'm like, that's too surreal. I don't believe in coincidences.
Mm.
I feel that I was led to you, and I haven't found why I was
No.
led to you. I'm not questioning why I was led to you, but I know I was led. And then last night, while I'm laying there, just 24 hours ago from now, back from now, I'm sitting here on the couch, and I'm wide awake watching a movie, and suddenly I hear the word sleep in my head, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I come to just a little bit, and I see him sitting in front of me again. I'm like, he goes, you found him. Now talk with him. Tell your story. Tell the story of us.
Mm.
I'm like, back to sleep. So I was led to you to tell my story, to share my story.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is
you
a
very
piece of
much.
me that I don't
Thank
put
you.
out there openly to the public, but I'm not gonna lie, me being a paranormal investigator, I've been in some of the most dark infested houses where you could see them around, all over the place. I've been thrown through walls. I've been thrown into doors. I've been thrown through a door by dark forces. Doesn't scare me. I've been into buildings where even you can, like in the movies, you see the dust going around the person, objects flying around, and I'm just standing there going, come on, is that all you got? Doesn't scare me. What scared me was this part of my story, and it scared me for years. I didn't want to face it.
I understand.
Right
I
now, I'm fighting
understand.
back the tears right now because me telling this story, I feel freer than I have in
Oh.
a long time. I don't share a lot of my story with the public, and this is part of my story that literally is a piece of my heart that I've kept locked
Mm.
away for so long, and it wasn't until I saw the trailer. Granted, I've talked about my story openly here and there. Every time I talked about it before,
Mm.
I had went one of the times I was abducted when I was 24. I was on the table and felt a drill
Mm.
going into the back of my neck, and I woke back up. Felt like a hole back here, and I went to a doctor in California. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in California, and he did an X-ray of my neck, and what he found in my neck was, picture a square like this, a whole square.
Mm-hmm.
Picture um, pieces of metal doing this. Let's see, this, and one going through the center, like little coins on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then picture like little
Mm.
pieces of them connecting them all together, and take that little orb thing, stick it in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the box, but shrink it down to about this big. Doctor did an X-ray on my neck and found out there was an implant. He blew it up,
Mm.
and you know what's funny? I've sketched this image out my whole next time, because I wouldn't mind bringing you back for a second segment of this, and I'll bring that image up that I can sketch it out. He took me. He had
Thank
an
you.
old radio in
Thank you.
his office that it hadn't worked for over 20 years. I walk up to it and I put my hand on it and it fires up. He goes, "Do that again."
Mm-hmm.
I put my hand on it and it's an old CB radio, like it was his dad's, because his dad was a trucker. This thing hadn't fired up, and
Mm-hmm.
this thing was missing a good, I'd say, 90 or 70% of the components to even make it work. And I put my hand on it and I closed my eyes, held out the walkie-talkie part like this, and he goes, and suddenly you hear a voice come through going, "Jonathan, are you there?" He goes, "Dad?" He goes, "Dad." He goes, "But it can't be." He goes, "That you." He goes, "Jonathan, granted, demons can say things about us." And he goes, "Dad, where are you?" He goes, "I'm far away from here." He goes, "But I'm coming through. I'm using," he goes, "this Joseph that's in your office right now is a transceiver and a receiver. I'm using whatever it is that he has in him." His dad disappeared when he was 20. His dad disappeared when he was 40 years old and was never seen again. He was out in the woods on a hunting trip and vanished completely. He said, "I can't tell you where I'm at." He goes, "But the people," he goes, "not people," he's, excuse me, "beings that put the implant in Joe are allowing me to use him as a transceiver and receiver so I can talk to you for what limited time we have." He goes, "Dad," he goes, "they took me because they needed me. They need to finish what they were starting with me. Because there are many others that have been taken, not for bad reasons." He goes, "Joe is one of those ones that has remained here for a long time doing what he does." His son goes, "Dad, I love you." And he goes, "Jonathan, I love you too." And suddenly it fades out and I drop the mic. I'm like, he goes, "You okay?" I'm like, "What happened?" He goes, my dad was able to talk through you." And I go, "I remember you telling me your dad was taken when he was 40 on a trip, a hunting trip." He goes, "What I don't tell people is part of my story." He goes, "Bright lights came out of the sky, 3 of them." He goes, he goes, there was one big one above him and 3 like orbs came out of the sky, circled around him. And as they circled around him, he vanished. The Dr. Jonathan has passed since then, but his dad, ironically, after he passed, people were out in the woods one day, found a naked man laying in the woods, took him to the police station. This was ironically Alaska. And I was up there with a friend. I was up there anyway visiting. And I get a phone call from a sheriff, goes, "Do you know a guy named Dr. James Thompson Jonathan Sr.?" I'm like, "I knew his son." He goes, "Well, we have Dr. Jonathan Sr. here." I'm like, "Where are you?" He goes, "Nome, Alaska." I go, "Give me a couple of days. I'll get up there." I was in Juneau. So the only way into Nome at time there, you can get in in the summertime, you get in during the roads, driving. During the wintertime, the only way is flying in. It was wintertime. I saw him flying in. "I'll give me 2 days." I get in there. I get his dad, and I go, "Where? You disappeared, God, over 20 years ago." He hadn't aged a day. Doctors have ran tests on him and ran all sorts of things. Blood. He was 40 years old still.
And when was this?
Yeah, I was 25. This is right after my incident in Montana. I was 20. I was 26. Just almost 26. I was 25 and a half.
Wow. And so
He's
what
still alive.
happened to this man? I mean,
He's in Nome,
where
Alaska
is
under
he?
a different name because he didn't. Because when people started finding out that he was still around, people started coming out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
Government, of course, got involved.
Hmm.
You know how the government is; they get involved in things they don't understand. And they came in asking
Hmm.
questions, and they took him, ran experiments on him. So he decided when he got the chance to go free, change his name and go into hiding because he didn't want to be out there in the open eye anymore. Kind of like
Hmm.
the. It's funny when I was
Hmm.
talking to you about the Doctor Dr. Abigail Taylor earlier.
Yeah.
I made a phone call after I got off the phone with you, just one little phone call to somebody I know. I said, I need you to find a name for me. I said, I need some information on something. He goes, the fourth kind. I go, I didn't need to
Hmm.
say a word because this guy I've known for a long time and him and I are connected in ways we don't understand it. We just are. He goes, do some digging. I get a phone call back not even an hour later. He says, people say the fourth kind is not real. He goes, but I talked to somebody that was actually there during the times of the little incidents that they say happened but didn't happen. The story of the fourth kind that Mila Djokovic played, Dr. Abigail Taylor, was real.
Hmm.
All of it. The little
Hmm.
girl disappearing, everything. He wouldn't give me the name of the person that was there, but he gave me accurate details. He gave me enough to find. My
Hmm.
gift, you take away all my little psychic gifts, and I have the gift of investigation. I was going to school to be a Fed, to be a profiler, so I dig.
Hmm.
And I found
Mm-hmm.
today I've been reading up on a lot. I've been reading up on Dr. Abigail Taylor. I've been reading up on parapsychology. I've even been reading up on more alien abductions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the type that will dig and not stop digging until I
Hmm.
find the
I
truth.
appreciate that.
To quote one of my favorite people,
I
even though it's
appreciate that.
fictitious, the truth is out there. The truth is in front of us. No matter how much people try to stop me from telling the truth, I will find the truth and I won't stop.
Hmm.
So,
Good for you.
so did they send you to stop me? Of course, Mulder, they sent me to derail you from your case. X-Files, Dana
Hmm.
Scully, Agent Fox Mulder, because when they first put her around him, they wanted her to derail him. Then she got further in,
Mm-hmm.
of course, and found out that everything that he went through was true. It blew my mind when I found out the
Yeah.
smoking man was his dad. It still does to this day. And that his dad was an alien hybrid. That was wicked. I'm an X-Files fan. That's if you look at the backdrop of my room, it says, "I still continue." Uh the truth is out there. It's what that is. It's from the X-Files.
Hmm.
And Grimm's X-Files still continue
I
to.
see.
I still need to continue believing. That was one of the last things that Dana Scully said to Mulder. She goes, "I still need to continue believing." That's where I got that from. I'm an X-Files fan.
Hmm. I see. Makes sense. Sure.
I believe that there are things out there in this world we will never understand. That we will never fully, our mind will never fully be open to until we actually
Hmm.
shut, as the orderly said, shut the mouth, open thy ears, silence thy mind, and open thy heart. That's the message I carry with me.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, my grandpa would say, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth.
Ah. Oh, Joseph, I tell you, I really have enjoyed talking to you tonight. I'm
Same
a little
here.
beat. I've been, yeah, I've been kind of ill and just recovering, and so I was wondering, my friend, if you wouldn't mind if we
No
wrapped up
problem.
for tonight. For tonight. I am blessed to know you, and I am grateful for this time together. I thank you very, very much, my friend. And I wish you eternal blessings and abundance
Before
in
we wrap this
everything
up,
you
Jonathan
touch.
Kerr, him and I were talking about this earlier. He
Yes,
said,
sir.
I was in Montana, saw a whole ball of bright light coming down, and it was landing. I was looking toward the mountains that looked like a bull while I was asleep and woke, and I was unsure due to the fact I was young and saw a what looked like a big-headed, big-headed being with a big head and diamond-shaped eyes. Looked in there, and there were five of them. What's interesting is when
Mm,
he told me that a couple hours ago, there was somebody telling me that
hmm.
they just gotten back from Montana and described that same thing in detail to me the way that he just did.
It's incredible. Well, here's the thing, man. Guess what? You know, when people talk to us, I say to people, I say, look, there are only three possible solutions, right? I'm either an absolute liar, okay? Or I'm out of my damn mind, okay? Or I'm telling the truth. There are only three things, right? Okay, and if it's just me, well, I'm a nobody. How can this be hundreds, thousands of people, millions of people from around the world? Are they all out of their damn minds? Are they all liars? Or are they all struggling to understand something incredible that's happened to them or something incredible that they're involved in? I have to believe with all of my heart, because I've seen it close up and laid hands on it, that there's something happening around here. And what it is, ain't exactly clear, like the old song goes. My brother, with that, I'm going to sign off. My blessings to you and to all your audience and to all your friends. I hope we
Oh
remain in
yeah,
contact,
definitely.
please, because I would like us
Oh
to
yeah,
talk many times if you'd be open to that.
definitely. I want to do.
Yeah, and to your audience, yeah, and to your audience, listen. If you want help dealing with the things that you need to, I cannot recommend Deb Shakti anymore. She is incredible, and she can help you. She has a therapy session, and she is fantastic. And I can't say enough about her. So if there's something that you or somebody's dealing with, or one of the people, because I know you talk to a lot of people, Joseph. I know you do. And if there's anything that you guys need some help with, she's the person to contact. Brother, I'm going to take off. I got to go to sleep.
Peace out.
Peace.
You're welcome.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Now, to those out there ever need help, you remember you are not alone. And thank you, Deb, for being on my show. John, thank you for being on my show. My thank you to my guest, John Yost. John Yost. If you have a hard time saying his name, think of Toast, but with the Y. You are not alone out there. There is more of us out there than you realize that go through this phenomenon. I shared my story because I've been scared for so many years to share my story. I'm not afraid anymore. To quote Agent Fox Mulder, the truth is out there. It is all around us, each and every day of our lives. Like John said, and Debs says, we need to be one. Oneness. Stop the war, stop the fighting, stop the hate. I don't fight, I'm a pacifist. I took a vow of no war. To quote Chief Joseph from Actual History, I will fight no more forever. I can bring war because I'm quite capable of it. I'm a former martial artist, a former boxer, and former cage fighter. I don't like fighting. I don't like bringing war. But I will bring war if I must. But I prefer bringing war with peace instead. Peace is what I choose. I choose peace over anything and everything else. But remember, you are not alone. I am always here to talk to you. Now I'm signing off for the night. Everybody, thank you for coming to my show. Thank you most of all to my guest, John Yost for being on. Thank you, Debs, for being here. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you to all my guests. Have a good night. Good night, and God bless, in the famous words of Tom Brokaw.